Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed, baby. Now, some interesting news in the world of boxing, right? We got a fight that we kind of want to see, right? Kind of want to see, what is it, the super welterweight or junior middleweight division, two, undefeated fighters that we think are up and comers. Really, it's about time for them to fight because they're closing in on 30. That'll be Jerron Boots Ennis, right? Versus Vergil Ortiz. Both coming off good wins. Both been, they've been winning. We would probably say by now in both of those careers that we both see that we all see that they're awesome, both of them, but they still would be categorized probably as underachievers. You know what I mean? In terms of, their opposition. Vergil Ortiz, for example, has never been a champion, even though he's, 30-something fights or whatever, close to, right? And he's about 28, 29 years old, something like that. So he's never been a champion. Now, his last fights, impressive win over Madrimov, impressive win over Erickson Lubin just recently. So those are good fights. But the one before that, you had Boychek really beat him. We all know that, but hey, we'll get to that reason why that is later in the video. Point is, but he's, he's been winning. He's been winning. He's been knocking people out. He's a good fighter. Listen, we can say negative things about all fighters, and most people spend all their time doing that. Man, the dude, probably ain't fought every damn body, but he shouldn't be this undefeated, at this point. Even the people that Vergil Ortiz has fought, like I always say about all fighters, everybody wouldn't have that record if they fought him. You know what I mean? Same with your boy, Jerron Boots Ennis. Boots Ennis has been a champion. He's won a championship. And he's unified a division, beating Staniosis, very impressive at the welterweight division before moving up, 154. So he's done some good things. 154, okay, the Lemus win, it's like, it was, it was impressive because you demolished the guy, but the name, a lot of people don't know the name. But the eye test shows that both of these guys are awesome. But I told you guys in my recent video that they're not gonna fight. I already know. I've been watching long enough boxing, and y'all know the things I say about boxing. Like I'll say boxing, for example, is BTBG. Y'all know what that means. Beat the black guy. I would say things like the Mexican leagues, right? The Mexican league in boxing, because that league, there's less expectation and more positive press, for example, right? And I've documented that. Everybody knows that. Or the Negro League. I would say some of the Negro League fighters, because the expectations are high and the press will be negative, mostly. It's just the way it is. It's, for some reason, it's the emotion. If you're beating the black guy, some people it's because they're racist, and others is because, the black guy is pretty much dominant. And a lot of people go for underdogs. When I'm indifferent, in sport, period, I go for the underdogs. I've explained that. Like, for example, for the soccer people out there, or the football people, there's those big clubs you hate in Europe. Real Madrid. They have more resources. Barcelona, they have more resources than the other teams, right? Bayern Munich in Germany, they got more resources than the rest of those people in the Bundesliga. The Premier League is a little bit more parity. You got about 5, 6, 7 teams that are good. You might have Manchester City, Manchester United, Arsenal, Tottenham, which I wouldn't count up there, but I'm going to count them for this, or Liverpool, whose resurgence in the last 10 years have come back, and I'm missing some stuff. I've said the 2 Manchester teams, Arsenal. Who did I miss? I miss Chelsea, stuff like that. So that league, has a little bit more parity, but most leagues, there's only 1 or 2 teams that's going to be at the top in those European soccer leagues. In America, it's a little bit different, but we do have the traditional teams like the NBA, the Boston Celtics, the LA Lakers. They've won the most titles, but our system is a little bit different. Over there, those big teams have more resources and more money. There's not a draft system, and, the people who win and get a low draft pick, the people who lose and get higher draft picks. So it's a little bit different. So you tend to not like those big teams, and you go against them unless you're from that city, or unless you just follow. I want to get on the winning team. But be that as it may, that's what a lot of people probably don't go for a black fighter. You know what I'm saying? Because, oh man, he good any damn way. You know what I mean? So it's not always racism, but most of the time it is, right? And so that's why you not get a lot of fair shakes. So when I told you this guy coming into boxing with all this money from Saudi Arabia, Turki Alalshikh, I told you guys, what did I say? He's going to be banned in the USA, he'll be banned in the USA, he'll be, right? Because they're not going to like this, right? Not going to like a guy coming in giving us the fights that we're supposed to want as boxing fans, but we don't really want. You know what I mean? And he's doing stuff. Here is the latest example. Vergil Ortiz and Boots Ennis. That's the fight that, you know, everybody want, right? Everybody want, but not really. A lot of people don't really want to see that fight. So we start, you know, you start hearing stuff, Vergil Ortiz gonna want Errol Spence. He shouldn't want no damn Errol Spence until Errol Spence come back and fight a little something. You know, you shouldn't want Errol Spence right now. So he said he wants Errol Spence. I'm hoping he meant I used to want that fight. If he meant he used to want the Errol Spence fight in Texas, that's legitimate. But if that's the fight you want now, that's a little bit silly to say that out loud. Because you shouldn't want a guy who ain't been fighting, coming off a loss, a bad loss. We don't know if he's normal yet and all that stuff. You know, you want him to come back and fight a time or two so people can say it's a good win. You wouldn't want to do that. But Vergil Ortiz, I think he just misspoke there. Let's hope. You know, the glasses half full on this one because I'm liking some Vergil. You know, because Vergil don't have these attributes as some others. I explained that too. Vergil Ortiz and these Benavidez brothers, a little bit different, right? But that's what it is. Bottom line is Turki Alalshikh and DAZN has said, we ain't putting no money up for no Errol Spence damn fight. Y'all get the damn Ortiz versus Ennis fight and we be behind y'all. DAZN is sick of losing money, people, especially because of the Mexicans. They sick of losing money. Canelo Alvarez, don't forget, he had a $365 million deal for a 10-fight deal. Remember that, right? He fought some 2 or 3 easy fights. DAZN said, okay. As soon as they told him to fight Andrade for undisputed and gave one to put $40 million up there for him, he wanted to get out of the damn deal. No, I don't want to fight nobody hard for this money. And so they didn't put him on blast. They let him get away with saying that. So they losing money. Right? At the same time, Munguia was also signed at DAZN. Didn't want to fight Andrade either, and he was Andrade's mandatory, right? That brings me to what I'm saying about Mexican leagues. You know, mandatory fighters, Mexican fighters of his Vergil Ortiz didn't want to fight Terrence Crawford when he was the mandatory. Ryan Garcia didn't want to fight Devin Haney when he was the mandatory. Canelo Alvarez didn't want to fight Andrade when he was the mandatory, the 154. And like I just said, Munguia didn't want to fight Andrade or Jamal Charlo as their mandatories. So what you have is these people that don't have to do that. Just like the WBSS tournaments that were there. Those tournaments where the top 8 people get into a tournament to find out who's the best. I done went through them. Well, okay, cruiserweight, okay, there ain't too many Mexican cruiserweights, right? So, you know, because that was, you know, Eastern Europeans and Dorticus, like I said. But those other ones, you know, the one way back when Andre Ward was there could have been. That was super middleweight. We've had a bantamweight one. We've had a junior lightweight one. No, a junior middleweight. No, a junior welterweight one. Could have been some Mexicans. They ain't got getting in those. Why? Because we ain't got to be going in no tournaments trying to find out the best when we can go around and do other stuff. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's been going on. So that's how this stuff has been working. So Turki Alalshikh is messing it up for this. You know what I mean? Normally, in a normal world, what New Russia been having the whole time is we can just say stuff. And like right now, what normally would have happened if Turki Alalshikh wasn't here right now, what would be going on is, damn it, Boots, man, he ain't worth the fight. He ain't worthy of it. We're going to be the A side. We ain't have to fight him. Boots needs to do this and Boots needs to do that to get a fight with somebody who ain't been the champion. Turki Alalshikh ain't going for that. But that normally works. Right? That normally works. That's normally how it works. We tell his brother he obviously better. Been the champion. We gonna tell him what he gotta do. It happened to Devin Haney as an undisputed champion. he had to take the B side to Ryan Garcia, who had never been a champion and got losses, right? So that's how that works. So Turki Alalshikh is not doing what they want. What he's doing is he's putting on the fights that boxing fans should want, not the ones that they really want, right? Because boxing fans, or what you ever want to call them, don't really want to see these fighters in these fights to find out who the real best is, because the boxing fans already know who the best are, but they don't want you to know and have proof of it. And the press, especially in New Russia, you know, they support this kind of behavior, and they put those kind of things out, right? But now you got a guy in Turki Alalshikh, you're gonna have to get around him and see what happens. So yeah, Vergil Ortiz versus Duran, Boots Ennis, or nothing, right? And let me tell you something too, while I'm in here talking, while this is long videos, long, so I might as well make it a little bit longer. The 154-pound division doesn't deserve Terence Crawford. Make sure that's clear. If you've been around here 11 minutes, then you might as well know this. The 154-pound division in boxing doesn't deserve Terence Crawford, right? Because they've been weird the whole damn time, right? Been weird the whole damn time. That's why Terence Crawford had to go way up to 168 to fight Canelo. Why? First, I'm coming up for 147. I just took care of Spence. Jermell Charlo could have stayed there and had an undisputed versus undisputed fight. He wants to go up and do the Canelo fight because he thought Canelo was easier than Terence Crawford, right? So he goes up there and does that, then the belts get fragmented because that's what they want to do. Keep away from Terence Crawford. So what happens? We thought Tim Chu was all that in a bag of chips. We thought Tim Chu was the one with all the heart. I still think he got a lot of heart, but he probably would have fought Terence Crawford for a lesser thing, maybe one belt or something, and Terence would have done that. He gets beat by Fundora. Fundora doesn't want to fight Terence Crawford. He talking Spence too. Think about this. People going after Spence after loss, talking about he's going to bring in more money and stuff like that. Fundora started acting weird. Tim Chu started acting weird, right? Jermell Charlo was acting weird early anyway. Like, why y'all talking to me about him? He's smaller than me. Stuff like that, right? So, all the while, you have a Murtazelli up there, right? There ain't nobody trying to fight. Tim Chu got the balls, went in there with him, got beat up. Since then, ain't nobody trying to get with him. You have a guy in that division who's an obvious boogeyman, and no one's trying to fight him. Thank God for Abbas Baru. Remember the name, that guy that's from Germany, Abbas Baru. After his win over Tellez, he is one that's been like, well, who's supposed to be somebody? I forgot who he just called out the other day. He, you know, whoever. When everybody wasn't trying to fight Boots Ennis, he was like, Boots, what's up? Boots didn't get back with him. Now he's trying to fight your boy Zaras, what his name is. The guy, Puerto Rican guy, young guy, right? He's trying to get with him so they can have a unification fight. After that, Abbas Baru is trying to fight people, right? Now, the thing is, he's not extremely talented, but he got heart. So what he's trying to do is like, well, let's fight. If I lose, whatever. But I'm coming to try to get you. And I'm bringing a whole lot of pressure with me. Can you do something with it? So he's going to fight Zaras or whatever, and then let's see what happens with that. Maybe because of Abbas Baru, we might have a little action going on because everybody else is fiddling around and ain't trying to unify that damn division, right? And ain't trying to unify that division. That's why Terence Crawford ain't got no time for that. That's why he's trying to go up there to 160 pounds and mess with this bad Yanabik. And some people even got Terence Crawford as a favorite versus Yanabik, which is awesome because Yanabik is ridiculously awesome. That just shows you how good they think Terence Crawford is. But back to the top. Turki Alalshikh is giving us fights that we should want, but it's pissing y'all off. Doma Sports Talk Worldwide, and I'm out of here, y'all.